an incredible vibe. تعرفوا إنه في مطاعم بأمريكا وبأوروبا بتقدم الكنافة أكنها أكلة إسرائيلية.
والله.
حياة الله.
هذه أكلة فلسطينية أصيلة. فلسطينية أبا عن جد.
This is a Palestinian dish. أكلة فلسطينية.
أبا عن جد. ونابلسية بالأخص.
I'm from Nablus.
إسرائيل تعرفش تسويها.
تعرف تسويها؟
والله ما حدا بيعرف يسويها.
Don't smell it.
I won't smell it. I won't smell it. Having tasted appropriated Israeli knafeh, I can confirm that the gentleman is correct.
This is god-awful.
It's really bad.
In the first part of this journey, I was in New York trying Israeli knockoffs of Palestinian dishes.
It gets better, doesn't it?
I cleansed my palate afterwards.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So good. Man, look at this.
On today's episode, I'm going back to knafeh's roots, to the city he was born in, Nablus, to learn about its history and how it's made from the people who know it best.
Look at this.
Before we go to Nablus, we need to go to Jordan first. As a Palestinian from the West Bank, Israel has denied us an airport, so we have to fly through Amman to travel anywhere in the world and then get back home. There is another reason I stop here for a few days. Jordan is home to some great knafeh, but also the largest Palestinian refugee community in the world.
Before the one-week war, there had been over 1 million Palestinian refugees, people displaced from their homes when Israel was founded in 1948. Now, with Israel occupying 4 times as much land as she had then, the problem has grown enormously.
The story of Palestinian food, appropriation, and erasure can't be complete without them. But back to our journey. Step 1, find knafeh.
The place to have these sweet is Habiba, right smack in downtown Amman.
حبيبة وين يا حاج؟ من هون؟
زي ما بدك يا من هون يا من هون.
Joining me on my quest is Palestinian chef Qais Malhas, who grew up in Amman. When we saw this guy, we knew we were close.
We need to eat it fast before the cheese cools.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Cheesy, crunchy, with pistachios.
And it's not too sweet, and there's a bit of saltiness still to the cheese. And if it actually كتير زاكي though, I'm not like faking it for camera. I haven't had knafeh in so long.
It's so good.
And like good knafeh.
So the thing with knafeh is there are places like Habiba that specialize in making it and other sweets. You go to a sweet place to have a slice, grab it, eat it inside or outside on the side of the road with your friends, and best to get it on a wintry cold day because it warms you up. It's an incredible feeling.
And it's a culture that's developed over hundreds of years.
Yes.
That's why it exists all over our part of the world.
The world,
You know? It's
yeah.
not something that we suddenly started to think, you know what, we should have knafeh.
No.
And what also proves that it's Palestinian, like we were saying, is all the regional variations of knafeh that exist in Palestine. So this is knafeh Nablusiyya, there's Ghazawiya, there's Ramlawiya, there's
Different
a bunch of
iterations.
different variations of it depending on the city and the location.
You know, plucking knafeh, taking it to some foreign capital, throwing the label Israeli on it can never do the justice of this cultural experience and this taste. The food is just not in the flavor, but also in the way you consume it and the way you experience it.
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing to point out.
We headed back to Qais's restaurant, Shams al-Balad, to have a chat about refugees, appropriation, Palestinianness, and the relationship between food and politics.
You're Palestinian, but you grew up in Amman.
Yeah. There is something, I think, comforting and kind of taunting at the same time about being Palestinian in Jordan, because it's so close. It's the same land, it's the same environment, it's the same people, it's the same food.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's very clear. You know, you're at the border.
Latest pictures from war-torn Palestine provide these impressions of Haganah forces consolidating areas under their control.
Almost 3 million Palestinians have called Jordan home since they were expelled by Israel in 1948 during the Nakba, and they have yet to return to their homeland. For the many refugees who can't go back to their homeland, they find connections to their identity and culture through food. That is why food is so central to the Palestinian story.
Anything about being Palestinian is we are in a constant state of existential panic.
Yeah.
You know, because we are being attacked on all sides.
And erased.
And erased, yeah,
Erased,
exactly.
right?
That's the existential part of
Exactly.
it, right?
When you said existential, I'm like, because of erasure.
So everything about our existence is threatening, right? The fact that we are here is a problem to many people. So food is just one way of practicing agency that also becomes problematic to people in power, to the systems and the powers that be that control most of the spaces where we kind of dwell. When I went to New York, to live in New York, that's when I really got into cooking. And that's when it became a way, I think, to reclaim agency in a more hostile environment and figure out really what food is and how it aligns with all of the issues we face living day to day as Palestinians, wherever you may be. My connection to food also is a very organic one, I think. I grew up in a home with two very capable cooks who are my grandmothers.
Yes.
One, on my mother's side, is from Jaffa, from Jaffa, and you know, their journey into exile went from Jaffa to Damascus, then to Kuwait, and then to Amman. So it's a triple exile. My other grandmother, who's also an incredible cook, is from Bethlehem, but from a very Bedouin family. She has a completely different kind of way of cooking and interacting with the same ingredients. So I got kind of growing up this dual perspective on our food.
Palestine is incredibly geographically diverse and inhabited by microclimates and ingredients that offer a rich cuisine driven by regionality. From the fish and seafood of the coasts in Gaza, Jaffa, Haifa and Akka, to the rolling hills of Bethlehem, Ramallah, Nablus, peppered with olive trees and oil that make the best msakhan. From the ka'ik and treats of Jerusalem, to the citrus and mlukhiyya of Jericho, to the mansaf and idri of Hebron and the Naqab. But this regionality has been segregated and separated by the fragmentation imposed by Israel. What was once one cuisine, one people, and one land has become inaccessible to those who are separated from one another. It is in that context Israel has taken our food and presents it as its own.
I grew up in Palestine. So I was never fully aware. I traveled, but I wasn't fully aware of how many Israeli restaurants were opening up overseas. And when looking at their menus, it was 80% Palestinian food. I saw that these restaurants were also getting critical acclaim for their food, for our food. And I felt this fury.
You see a lot of restaurants in the West that sometimes butcher our food and sometimes, unfortunately, do it particularly well. The problem is the audience. Because obviously, if you are an Israeli who's worked on the checkpoints, who's probably shot children or done whatever else they do, it's not going to clash very much with your morals to go and sell hummus in New York, right? And I've had quite a few arguments with different Israelis who are doing just that. They still don't understand this kind of this nonsense narrative of, hummus is love and food brings us together, is what they try to cloak their hostility behind. But you're talking about appropriation of a culture that's actively being erased by you and your people. So there's no love. There's no bringing together. There is hostility, aggression, and violence. They don't have a right to promote an inclusive kind of vision of their food until they actually create that environment on the ground. That's the mismatch.
Which is the antithesis of their project in the first place.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. They're talking about racial purity. And then now in the West, they're trying to promote a kind of concept of their culture as being multiracial and open and, like the, pink washing and all of this stuff now, greenwashing. They love doing all these kinds of washing because their laundry is very dirty.
على جسر الملكة حسين اللي هو معروف باسم معبر الألم.
To get to Palestine from Jordan, you have to go through the Alembi crossing in the Jordan Valley, take multiple modes of transport, and get checked by 3 different authorities. I arrived in Jericho, and from there I had to go home to Ramallah, and then I went to Nablus. A trip that should take less than hours ends up taking days because of Israeli apartheid.
Almost on every hilltop, or every other hilltop we pass, you find illegal Israeli settlements. You can see their names on the signs here, and you can see the Israeli Jeep ahead of us. The military is very present in our lives, in our daily lives. You can't go from one city to another without being confronted by the occupation and apartheid in some way.
It's one of the biggest cities in the West Bank in Palestine, and it's surrounded by mountains. We're in the downtown area where there's a lot of shops, a lot of people, a lot of hustle and bustle, and the old city is not too far, so we're about to go and get some knafeh. You can see the streets are surrounded with food shops. These shops go back hundreds of years, and Nablus is one of the culinary capitals of Palestine. 500 سنة. It's 500 years old. طب ندور لنا حبة يلا. Coffee roaster. The smell is unbelievable. These are the pickles. It's an incredible vibe. It's an amazing place. It's definitely worth it. This is where a lot of also the resistance was based as they were fighting the daily incursions by the military.
Undercover Israeli forces entered the city's busy markets before midday on Wednesday, followed by reinforcements.
With the sound of gunfire still in the air, Palestinians in the city of Nablus bring out the dead.
The violent settler mob is escorted by Israeli security forces as it targets Palestinians inside their homes.
Nablus has a long history of resistance to colonialism. This carries on today as its people continue to fight against the suffocation of Israeli settlements that have taken over the hilltops surrounding the city, and the daily invasions and violence by those settlers and the Israeli military. That resistance is about fighting deliberate erasure and liberation from oppression. Similarly, culinary resistance maintains holding on to what is being appropriated by another.
It's an amazing place with an amazing atmosphere, and you can feel the heart of the city in Nablus. هاي ايش هي؟ هريسة. Oh, it's incredibly delicious. This is another Palestinian dessert, atayef, which we usually have for Ramadan, and it's usually filled either with cheese or with walnuts and dipped in very sweet syrup. There's another sweet shop. This is Barahmeh. This is a dough that's dunked in sugar water, and it's absolutely delicious. We've finally arrived to Halawiyat Al-Aqsa Sweets, the place where we've come to have knafeh. And look at the line of people. It's crazy. People are waiting just to get a slice. And here they have the kitchen. They're making it. احكي لي عن الكنافة، تاريخها.
أنا التاريخ.
أنت التاريخ.
أنا التاريخ.
He is the history of knafeh. وقديش لها يعني قديش لهم الناس بياكلوا كنافة؟
أكثر من 300 سنة. هي شغلتها بسيطة، مكونين اللي هو العجينة الكنافة اللي هي هاي.
So this is the dough. إيش هي العجينة؟
بيكون طحين بنحط بعجانة مع سمنة وسكر ومي وشوية ملح وحليب وصبغة طعام صفراء.
So when they mix the ingredients,
زي صاجة وتحتيها نار.
The dough looks like this. وبعدين
بنحطهم في العجانة هاي مع شوية سمنة، بضل ينطحن نص ساعة بصير ناعم بهذا الشكل، بس هيك لساته ني. بعدين بالحماصة تحتيها نار.
And then it's roasted in this.
نحاس طبعا.
This is copper. It has to be copper. After it's roasted here, it goes into this, which finally sifts through the knafeh dough.
ندهن سمنة على الصينية، بعدين العجين، بعدين الجبنة.
Cow's milk that is salty initially,
نعم.
And then they sweeten it up here at the kitchen at the store.
تقعد 24 ساعة عبين لا تحلى.
So now the entire pan is placed on this stove that rotates. After 10 minutes on the stove, this is what it looks like. And this is the fresh pie. Allah. Look at how the cheese just melts and oozes the minute he scoops it up and puts it into the plate. Here you go, I got my slice, I got my piece. Stand to the side, have it, fresh and piping hot. I mean, look at that, it's a thing of beauty. Look at this. Look at this cheese, look at this color, and just amazing to have on a winter day. Oh my God. It's incredibly good. He came from Hebron, from all the way the south of the West Bank, to come to have this knafeh. طب ليش بتيجي؟ شو ميزاتها هاي الكنافة؟
هذا طعم ثاني، اسمها كنافة نابلسية.
كنافة نابلسية.
اسمها كنافة نابلسية.
ملك الحلويات هذا الزلمة.
هذا.
وأنا
حلويات الأقصى. ألوفات. Thousands of people come through here every day. قديش بصمد عندك الاستديو؟ 2 minutes. You see hundreds of people, thousands of people come here every day. They come from far and wide to have a slice of this cheesy goodness in this beautiful city that is Nablus. And Nablus and Nabulsi knafeh is Palestinian and as Palestinian as they come. And anyone who tells you otherwise is on something else.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as we grow this platform and tell more stories. We just launched our latest merch, and if you want to support us and allow us to make more videos, please get it by checking out the link below. And I hope we inspired you to get knafeh and make sure to defend it.